Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to MindShifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rahma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor. That's Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, and that puts you in queue to speak to us. We'd love to hear your comments and your questions. I see Dr. Tim is already with us, and welcome, Michael, to the show.
Thank you, dear heart. How are you this morning or this afternoon?
I am still in process. I am here.
All systems moving forward. Fabulous. And Dr. Tim's with us. How do you be, sir?
Very well, thank you. A lovely weekend. Nice talk at Unity yesterday morning, and sometime this afternoon to get that uploaded to the website. So, very busy at the monthly book club that I do for the Christian Science Fellowship last night. So it was a busy weekend. My sister's birthday was on Saturday, so busy.
Lots happening. Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing your talk, and we'll have to get it linked into our site as well, so maybe send us a link to it and get it out there, make it available. And you might want to share with people what your website is so they'll be able to listen to several things that you've done on your website.
It's www.C as in cat, H as in hat, the number 4, C as in cat, S as in Sam.com. CH4CS.com.
CHS4.com. Cool. CHCS4.com. Pardon me. Well, any great insights from having presented? I know that when I get in front of a group, it's always a gift to me because it always takes me to another level of understanding. So anything to share from it?
Well, there were two stories from Guy Finley's work, and your concept of source esteem rather than self-esteem came up in the book club last night. I was on a roll yesterday, so things really flowed out. And I think one of the biggest things is the piece of hope that came out of the lecture is we have to learn that no event is greater than our ability to learn and grow from it and emerge a greater, more loving, more compassionate person than we went into it. Regardless.
Well, that sounds like you just summed the whole game up.
There you go. So things were flowing.
Fabulous. Awesome insight. And, you know, when you say that, it stimulates the idea that, has come out of the work so often, and that is that the realities, the energies, the hostilities, the fears, the griefs that we hold within us are the cause of the events in our lives. The events are not the cause of those things in us. However, if we deny ownership of what's going on inside of us and dissociate from it, our mind will always present it and make it look like, of course, the problem is out there. One of my favorite tongue-in-cheek lines is, you'll notice if you've been through a particular reality 87 different times with 42 different people, you're the only one that was there every time. Once you realize it's yours, then you get to change it. You get to have power over it. And that's just the most awesome thing to recognize. But when we hook an internal process that can only be changed inside of us to an external event, then it seems like we're dependent on the external event for our happiness, for our wholeness. So your message of every event you'd think was custom designed to teach us forgiveness. You'd think that, gee, the Creator had a plan, and the plan was, if you're holding something that's less than love, I will send you an event that will show you what it is you need to work through. And if you work through it, then you can be rid of that particular hostility, fear, grief, rage, pain, whatever it is. Instead of functioning out of the good old family system, you can forgive, remove that, and then you change those events, oftentimes right there on the spot in an instant. The person in your face turns around just instantly in their behavior. And as you recognize that, it's I come up against my frustration, I come up against my fear, my rage, my grief, my pain. Every one of those events is an opportunity and a product of what I hold inside of me to make another choice about what I hold inside of me. I love the idea of the Course in Miracles. It says over and over again, choose once again, choose once again. And if you live in a multi-generational database, which is what we call the body, that has been through 1,000 generations of raging, grieving, hostility, murder, slaughter, war, kill, verbal kill, emotional kill, as a child go through being killed with words, that is, being forced into without the understanding and the choices to do it differently, being forced by a power person into some sort of grief or rage or pain. That is also what the power person carries and just reinforces and plays out, that every time we have the opportunity to start to shift and to change those things. And it's so awesome to turn the game of the world around to, we could be doing this differently. And so for anybody that's with us, we have an invitation for you, and that is to be part of the team that changed the world. And we put changed in the past tense because when you see the end from the beginning, you enlist literally the Creator on your team to support you and show you what needs to be done next to clean out that particular part of your mind. And so that's what we're here for. We're here to create a space that's safe for human life to show up. And if you're not sure what human life is, if you don't have a definition, I don't either, actually, because there's nothing in the way of words that can even start to describe this awesome presence of love that you and I were designed to be. And so the best definition I've found yet is hold a newborn child. And when you hold the newborn, you get to experience exactly what a human life is, exactly what a human being is. It is the same as you, that awesome, active presence of love. And we're here to support you in embodying and living out of that awesome, active presence of love by forgiving. Now, if this is a new conversation to you, we're going back to, we're looking to restore the original definition of forgiveness on planet Earth. The original definition of forgiveness has nothing to do with, I let you off the hook for what's going on inside of me. If I blame you, you made me angry, you made me sad, you made me afraid, and one of the questions is, have you ever said that to somebody? You really make me angry. You really frighten me. You really have a problem. Well, I have a question for you. If they're the one with the problem, why are you the one with the frustration, the rage, the anger, the grief, the pain, the fear? I'll offer you an answer. It's because that's what's inside of you. It is not caused from the outside. There's a tool called forgiveness, which, if you choose to be done with that, you go inside yourself and literally remove, the very capacity for any form of hostility or fear and get to live as a human being. And that's what we're here to support you in doing, living a true human life, truly living as this awesome, active presence of love that you were designed to live as, that is your most natural state. And the only thing you need to do that is to remove everything that's unlike your natural state. Not necessarily an easy project if you come from a bloodline of raging, denying, grieving, hostile, fearful people, which, if you look at our culture, it's pretty much the game on planet Earth at this point. And so if you're not familiar with the forgiveness tool or the forgiveness process, we invite you to go to our website, www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. If you click on that link, it will give you all of the technology you need, all of the tools you need to start to undo and unload literally your very capacity for any form of hostility or fear. So jump on the website. About the sixth link down is a link that says Download Worksheets. Click on that. The first 7 links will give you the whole story. We'll soon be shifting over. It looks like probably on into August, we'll be shifting over to whyagain.org. And then that link will be up toward the top of the page. But right now, it's on the right-hand side down toward the bottom. Tap in. It's all there free. There are 5 different radio shows where we actually step-by-step walk somebody through the forgiveness process. Each of those 5 shows is a different walking of someone through the forgiveness process, through the reality management worksheet that's on our website. So give that a click. Give it a listen. You'll have the instructions. And then, should you have any questions, confusion, gee, something doesn't make sense, I don't know how to do this, then what we invite you to do is pick up the phone. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. 646-200-4169. Tap in, call us, ask your question. We are here to absolutely support you in being 100% aware of how the process of forgiveness works, how to change every reality in your mind that was never supposed to be there in the first place. So that's what we're here for, and we are delighted to be on your team and delighted to have you on the show with us. Dr. Tim, I am especially delighted that you are on our team and supporting us in this process. And so, Jeanie, do we have any callers or anything happening in the chat room to be aware of?
No, David was on there briefly, and then he disappeared, so he's not out there right now. But we have several people on the switchboard, only one person in the chat room, which is unusual. I refreshed just to make sure there wasn't something glitching up. But anyway, our number is 646-200-4169. We did have a hand just now go up. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk. Area code 352. You're on the air.
Hi, friends. This is Mary Lou from Heartland, and I'm sitting on the front porch with a back massage line of 6 people that were massaging each other's back, and we're ready to go to the other direction soonly. We've just finished with a peach pie for lunch. That's all we're going to eat is this wonderful peach pie, so we can breathe this
all afternoon. Totally live, all totally fresh and raw peach pie. It's awesome, isn't it?
It's wonderful. Fantastic. With a nut crust that's just to breathe for. Filled with protein.
There you go. Is Ari not awesome to work with in the kitchen? He's so amazing, isn't he?
Yes. Wonderful.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, if you're new to the show, we have a teaching center called Heartland in the Ozarks in southern Missouri, a little town of Theodosia. And about 3 days ago, a 10-day food, fun, forgiveness, and work project happened at Heartland where we're doing, Ari is there, Chef Ari, and he's doing all kinds of just awesome things to teach the whole crew and group about food. And then during the daytimes, we're doing work projects on the property. In the evenings, doing classes. And it's not too late to join us if you want to come and play and be part of that. You could just tap in with an email through the website, and we'd be happy to get back to you and set up for you to come and join us. And or we'll actually finish that on that workshop on the 21st, and then we'll have a day off. And on the 23rd, we'll begin a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again, which will then turn into a 9-day teacher training, or overall 17-day teacher training. So anybody that wants to join us, now's the time to make a commitment. Come and play. So what do you have mostly on your mind besides peach pie, Mary Lou?
We made a good chill sound of it. We got some nice
Oh, isn't
fresh
that kale salad recipe? We get so many people who come to Heartland and go, ooh, kale, that's terrible to eat. And then they leave, and it's one of their favorite recipes, the way Ari puts it together. It's pretty fabulous, isn't it?
We got some fresh kale from Chuck's garden, and Micah brought it over. This is Julie. And we made a nice kale salad, and we watched it go from a huge, huge pile of leaves to a very small pile of leaves after we processed it.
Right. It is pretty awesome. Hi, Julie. I haven't heard your voice in a while.
I know.
All is well in your world?
All is well. Yep.
Fabulous.
I mean, and it is slight healing process, but I'm doing good.
Very cool. Well, we'll just see the energy building day by day so that as many layers as are ready to come up and move out are complete. By the time we finish, I think August 8th, we finish the teacher training will be the completion of it. And then the next day, Jeanie and I are on the road. You know, we had a Jeanie's family reunion the week before I went to Birmingham. And then that next weekend, we begin a family reunion with my family up in Ontario, Canada. So we're going to be on the road immediately after the intensive's over. So lots happening.
Michael. Hi, Michael. This is Magda.
Hi there, young lady. How are you? Thank you for the kale.
Oh, yes. You're so welcome. Thank you for Heartland. I do have a question. We got to talking about this last week. You know, on the worksheet at the very bottom where we create our new goal. And it refers to choosing perfect love. And we had a discussion about what perfect love consists of.
So the question is, what does this term perfect love mean?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Well, in the Aramaic language, you hear the man named Yeshua telling us that there's a law that is the way that you maintain human life. It was called the first law, and people who think that law is the rule of a superior and there's a punisher going to get them go, oh, I have to obey these laws, when in fact there's nothing about obedience in the law. The Creator is not concerned or involved or interested in whether or not you obey the law. That's just not the game. There's nothing about obedience here. Understanding the law is just understanding how things work. Law happens, that's all. There's no such thing as violating a law. You cannot. It's not possible. Now, men's rules, that's a different game. The rule of an authority is going to punish you if you don't. And that's been projected onto the Creator, but there's none of that in the Creator. The law is just the way things work. You know, if you step off a cliff, gravity happens. Gravity doesn't have a concern or a care or, you know, it just happens. And you don't have a choice about how it works. It just works. If you get up in the morning and you have, of course, the choice to keep your feet in bed or to take them out of the bed, but you don't have a choice as to whether they go up or down. The law of gravity just happens. There's nothing there to be obeyed. There's no such thing as violating that law. However, if you step outside of the way it operates, then you are damaged by the stepping outside of the operation, not punished for doing it, but damaged by stepping outside of it because it happens. Somebody steps off a cliff, bones break at the bottom. Nothing to do with punishment, it's just the way the law works. So there's this law, and these laws operate in the mental, emotional, physical, social and relationship and financial universes. Every arena, there's a way that it works and a way that it happens. So when they ask Yeshua, what's first? What as a human being, what do we need to pay attention to first? The Greeks tell us that he said you must have love for God, for neighbor, and for self. And as though that law has something to do with something outside of you. But that's not what that word says in Aramaic. The word is rakma. So what he says is the first law, the primo law, is that if you think of the Creator, if you think of a neighbor, and neighbor means anybody you think about, you maintain a condition of love in your mind. Very high standard here. You maintain a condition of love, and it doesn't ask you in the Aramaic to maintain a condition of love for yourself. What it says is have Rachma, have this condition of love in your mind for the Creator, for neighbor, in order to maintain self. So this is the law for maintaining a human life. It's got nothing to do with behavior toward your neighbor. Of course, when you maintain a human life, there'll be certain behaviors that will flow from that. But it's not a behavior law. It's not something you are required to do. If you want to have a human life, you keep this gateway and this filter open in the frontal lobes of the brain that in Aramaic was called Rachma. And then there was a second word that represented a second filter in the mind, and these two together complete the puzzle. So in the frontal lobes of the brain where intentions are stored, we have Rachma, and that's a filter that allows your mind only to use intentions keyed to love in forming your goals. And it's a gateway for human life to enter human physiology. The second word, Kuba, is a filter over perception. It, too, relates to maintaining a connection to love. It is the way that you filter out everything in your perceptual mind that has to do with hostility and fear. And the two together, when you had Rachma, frontal lobes, Kuba, back of the brain, perception, then what they said was perfect love casts out fear. Your mind cannot produce a fear-based reality while you are in harmony with that law. If life comes along and, let's say, resonates, grief, rage, fear, what have you, and you are and have practiced being in concert or in harmony with that law, and Rachma and Kuba are solidly set in you, then the person who comes along that, say, resonates your fear, instead of you frighten me, now with those filters set, your fear passes through those filters and is automatically transformed or transmuted. It is a literal transmutation of energy. And so the reason why you want to keep those two filters set and perfect love active is because it accelerates the healing process. When somebody shows up that resonates your grief and Rachma and Kuba are set, your grief heals. When somebody shows up that resonates your sadness, your hatred, your vengeance, then what happens is you get to experience the healing process. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you, Michael. Anybody else have something to add? It makes sense. Yes, it makes sense. Thank you very much. That was a good review. Anybody else? Can you hear us? Are you there, Michael? Are you on mute?
We're not hearing you.
He's showing up that he's still on there, so I'm not sure if he still has his mute button, but yes, you all are heard. So Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and thank you all for what you're doing there at Heartland, too.
You're welcome.
Jeanie, thank you for what you're doing.
Yes, good explanation.
Yeah, that was very good. So, all right, Michael, I'm not sure if you're out there or not.
I am.
Okay, we have two more callers. So the first one is area code 970. You're on the air.
I'll tell you what, before we go with 970, let me just share what was just happening, why I disappeared for a moment. I'm traveling. I'm actually getting parts for some of the projects we've got going on at Heartland. And it's hot in Memphis. It's 91 degrees. And I was driving around looking for a place to park in the shade while I do the radio show. And the people who own the building where I parked just came out, like, looking at me like, what are you doing here? So I just shared with him. So Ty's Automotive said, well, okay, you can stay there in our shady parking place. Just give us a plug. So if you're in Memphis, come to Ty Automotive for any of your automotive needs. Hey, that's our first commercial, isn't it? In all this, almost 2 years.
That's
so anyway.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're real sweet about it and just said, well, give us a plug. Okay. So that's our plug. So 917 is our area code? Who we got? Where are you calling from? 970.
Hey, Jeanie and Michael, it's Carrie in Colorado.
Hey there, Carrie in Colorado. We're looking forward to seeing you next week.
You are, yep. And I'm going to come first Saturday, too, for doing the breathing with you guys. So
fabulous.
That'll be good. I wanted to share and get your input. There's a few people here in a little group that we've been sharing back and forth and working on the work together. We have our kind of own little informal group here. And one of the gentlemen was in Vietnam, and he's also of Native American heritage. And he and I both, I just dealt with helping put on a wedding here at the ranch where I caretake, and I've been going through the last week experiencing grief. These feelings of grief coming up, of how, sort of, I can look back, even though I've done a lot of wonderful things in my life, I can see how some things were just a shambles because of my, childhood patterns with my power person, those dynamics that got set in place. And so I've been going through a little bit of grief and sadness, kind of just at a deep level, coming up. And then I was sharing with these other folks who are in this little group that we have, and this gentleman has also been experiencing deep grief. And, he was in Vietnam where killing was part of what he had to do, and, a lot of so I just wanted to get your input on that. I feel like it must be a layer, and in this process, sort of like a point maybe you hit and you can look back and go, what a mess, since I didn't know how to do any of this back then, or I maybe knew bits and pieces of it, but not enough to really create, love in all situations. So.
Well, when we lose our human lives, there is a deep grief and a deep rage that happens. It's a reflection each time we're reminded once again that we've lost our human lives, that we've given it up. There is a deep rage and the depth of grief of the loss of self is enormous.
Yeah.
And most people try to live above that and pretend that it's not there. And so over and over and over again, events come about as a product of that energy that we hold. Our contribution to the insanity of the world is our rage and grief, and that's what perpetuates the insanity. When you engage in the forgiveness process, and instead of trying to live above that and pretend it's not there, you as a human being, maintaining the active condition of love in your mind, your human life, and you go into that level of grief and rage, you begin its dissolution. You begin to cause it to come loose in you. And of course, it's a dynamic that's been going on for 1,000 generations, so there is great depth to that. There are a few times over the last 45 years of doing this where I've worked with someone who has experienced what I call a whole-body grief release. I've only seen it 3 or 4 times. I was fortunate enough to have it happen to me, and so I was able to recognize what it was when I saw it happening in others. And it's moving into the depth of physical, mental, emotional loss and grief that is unfathomable. And if people go into that without awareness of their human lives, without the active presence of love, it just becomes reinforced and life-destroying, life-shattering. If someone in the space can hold to that active presence of love while that level of grief dissolves, while that level of rage dissolves, then all of the generations are freed from that. And so that's one of the ultimate goals of this work, is to get to the point where instead of pretending it's not there, instead of living above it, instead of every time somebody shows up that triggers it, we go, you made me angry, you're the cause of this is all your fault, you're the one who frightened me, I'm only afraid in your presence. It's like, excuse me, you've spent your whole damn life in fear. Cut the crap. Just cut it, would you? How long have you been there? How often have you been there? Stop playing the game that it's got to do with someone else, because the minute you experience that and go into a conversation about you made me, you just hid that away on a deeper level and made it unresolvable, unhealable. When you recognize, oh, geez, too many generations, too many lives, too many times I've been there, then, all right, then I'm ready to own this. Instead of puking on someone and saying, look what you're making me feel, if you could invite someone into the space of, I realize like this is beyond my comprehension, but it's been going on for so long in so many circumstances, in so many situations where I blamed it on somebody else. I'm starting to realize that this is mine. And what I need is the assistance and support to soften my physiology, to open, and instead of squeezing the active presence of love out of the cell where that trauma is locked, rather, I'm going to soften and welcome the active presence of love. And as I soften and welcome the active presence of love, I literally begin to dissolve those energies. And what we need are enough people who've got the courage to get to the point where we create a literal energetic vortex to draw that energy off of the planet. Yeshua said, a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. We only need a few people who will live in the first law, Rahman Kuba, perfect love, who will maintain that state even when their own garbage comes up. Now, it's a huge project to do that. I've spent decades learning to do it, and I'm still not perfect at it. Just ask the people who know me. And I get better at it every day. When my own hostility, fear, grief, rage, pain, trauma comes up from my 1,000 generations, softening my own tissue structure, being able to breathe into it, and welcoming the active presence of love, rather than tightening everything, squeezing the active presence of love out of my cell, and then trying to blame somebody else for it to reverse the process, begins the dissolution. And when you get somebody who's been in a place like Vietnam with the insanity that went there, if we can get that person converted, and conversion doesn't have to do with bringing somebody into your religion. We started out, all of us, exactly the same as love-based beings. Hold a newborn, everybody knows that. And then the world started to convert us. It converted us out of being love-based beings with a love-based mind into hostility and fear-based beings, or hostility and fear-based non-beings. What we need is a reconversion process to go back to the active presence of love, instead of thinking that any reason outside of us is a reason to be in rage or grief or pain at somebody else. And so I'm delighted that's coming up in that context, and that you guys are conscious enough to be moving through it and holding the space. That's just, what a fabulous contribution. There's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says, millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you do. The person is willing to have their, literally to be converted, or I should say really accurately reconverted back to love-based beings. It's just an awesome, fabulous thing. And I know that for me, especially when we do a process-oriented workshop, like we did a MindShifters and Still Point Breathing on Saturday, or the group at Heartland's getting ready to do a MindShifters and Still Point Breathing workshop this afternoon. And then we go into intensives, the awesomeness of opening that space. And there's a comment in the Course that says, millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you do. Millions. Critical mass. And what we're working to do is to create a planetary group of people. If you look on our website, the Why Is This Happening to Me Again is translated into Russian and German and Swedish and Farsi and Spanish. So we've got people in South America, Central America, of course, Spanish-speaking Americans. We have people in Germany who speak German, Russia who speak Russian, Farsi in the Middle East. We've actually got an attorney in Palestine that's working on an Arabic translation to get this understanding across and create a critical mass, that leavening that's going to drain that insanity out of every physiological device on the planet. And that's going to create the space for human life to show up in full form. That's why we're doing everything that we do.
Michael, we have somebody in the chat room that would like to add a comment about the grief that you all are talking about.
Yes.
Doc, you're on the air, 678.
Good evening. How are you both this evening?
I'm good. Who are we speaking with?
My name is Vajrayana. Most people just call me Doc Vaj because they claim they can't say my name.
Oh, okay. Well, Doc Raj, how do we address you?
Just Vaj is fine.
Raj. Okay, cool. Okay. What do you have to share with us?
Several things, but the most important one, I am a 30-year seasoned mystic, and I have touched your light here before. And when I popped in and you were speaking about grief, because I get a lot of information from the other side from people who their whole role on the planet is to capture and deliver this, just purified light, just deliver it to us who are at the forefront of the way showers here. I'm compelled to share this because there are people that just still don't get you as pure as your light is, and there are little things that I can add that can help them to see more clearly what you may be saying. Number one, the idea of grief. Realize, people, that right now the earth herself is giving birth to a new world. So much of the grief that you are feeling and moving through goes far beyond your personal collective experiences of you and all of your generations. We of the light are experiencing the rebirthing of the earth, and that means a lot of that which we would interpret as personal grief is being experienced through our bodies, because just like when you trigger an old emotion, if you will have someone there who can hold you and instead of trying to repress it, allow it to course through you and out of you, you will be done with that particular negative pocket of energy because it doesn't exist anymore. And I have found that the easiest way, because as long as we are dealing with human beings that only see themselves in the mirror, they will never understand what true forgiveness is. So I teach what my most radically cognizant cohort has guided me to teach through the Archangel Michael branch of our soul family, which is if we stop seeing each other as human beings and see each other as pockets of energy, we can forgive the vibrations, which is much more sensible than trying to forgive the human being, because in our humanness, we have no capacity whatsoever to forgive without spiritual knowledge.
Well, we have just a couple of small refinements to add there, and my offering is that one who is not functioning as the light, as this awesome active presence of love, actually isn't human. It's non-human life, and that our work of forgiveness has nothing to do with forgiving anybody. In fact, I'll often say, please never forgive anybody ever again for anything, and never forgive yourself. And people are like, well, what are you talking about? I thought you taught forgiveness. Yes, go inside yourself and hit the delete key. Remove the hostility, the fear, the grief, the rage, the pain. That's forgiveness work, and that's what we're here to spread to every corner of the globe and offer to every mind, heart, and being on the planet, is the restoration of the original technology of forgiveness, going inside yourself and making room for the light to show up. Incarnate as a human being. Then we have a human life. So I'm in harmony with you there.
Okay, but what percentage of even those that are deeming themselves to be high mystics or metaphysical practitioners really have any idea of how to do that? Most of them do not.
Well, that's why Jeanie and I spend 6 to 10 months of the year on the road, going anywhere on the globe, paying our own expenses and offering the technology free, so that we can restore the actual original understanding of forgiveness. The Greeks conned us. The Greeks sent in a Trojan horse. You did something really terrible that caused all this pain inside of me, but it's okay, I'll forgive you. And people who do that, of course, aren't doing forgiveness work at all. Nothing whatsoever to do with forgiveness. Pardoning, nice thing to do, but what we're looking to do is to restore the original Aramaic technology, which is the tool with which you go inside yourself and literally remove your physiological capacity for any form of rage, hatred, fear, anger, grief.
Okay, perfect.
Exposing that to the light and dissolving it is the original idea of forgiveness, and that's what we're here to. That's what this whole radio show is about, to support people in understanding that and putting it to work in their lives.
Wonderful. Okay, well,
so I'm glad to have you on the team.
Oh, I hate that word team because no one on the planet seems to really get what that means. But I feel your intention. I feel your intention.
Yeah. So my support for you would be that maybe this is an opportunity to heal some hatred, that maybe some forgiveness work around hatred would be good here. If you hate that word, then moving that out of your structure will create another space of light in your structure and radiate on another level where this dynamic of hatred that comes from our separation can be healed. That's what we're here for.
As a person that's been in this work for, almost 40 years, going on 30-something years, when I use the word hate, it has to do with humanity's interpretation of what that word means versus what it really means at the high end. So I appreciate your input, though. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Cool.
Pleasure.
Fabulous. Any other thoughts for us?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your call, Doc. We appreciate you and look forward to maybe at some point. What part of the world are you in?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia, physically at this current time.
Oh, okay. Well, let us know where you are, and maybe at some point if we get to Atlanta, we can get face-to-face and connect. That would be cool.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your work you're doing on the planet.
All right, blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We have another caller, area code 541. You're on the air.
Hi, Michael. It's Julie from Ashland, Oregon again.
Hey there, young lady. How do you be today?
I'm pretty good. I'm still here doing my work, and I have a really big grievance to bring up here. It's up, and I'll probably be working on it while I'm in Heartland, but I'd like to initiate what it is now.
Uh-huh.
It's about money and a pattern. Yeah, I'm sure we all have money patterns, and I see one of mine, as I tend to I've done this repetitiously, so I know I own the behavior somewhere. I loan money to people who don't pay me back, and so I see that in two ways. I see setting myself up as a victim, and I see them not being in integrity with me the way I think they should be. So that's my goal.
So when you see someone not being in integrity, what feelings does that bring forward for you?
Well, I feel I wrote down quite a few feelings here. So I feel like I've been swindled. I feel foolish, and that they took advantage of me. Yeah. Huh?
Okay. So one of the games of the non-being mind in the non-being world, non-human world, is to substitute thought for feeling, and that way not having to feel. So you just shared with me 3 thoughts. None of those had anything to do with feelings. So when you think you're being swindled, you turn that into a feeling, but it's not. It's a thought. When I think I'm being swindled, what do I feel?
Okay. Well, the feelings that came before that then were fear that I won't be taken care of and hostility at those who should behave better towards me. That's a thought too, I guess.
Okay. Well, the hostility and the fear, they're accurate. So then I'd suggest worksheets on hostility or fear, and I won't be taken care of. So that would be what you'd put in number 1. And then the not being treated fairly and the hostility about that, not being taken care of. So they'd be the things that would go into number 1 as your beginning point of the worksheet. And then, of course, the goal is what? I want people to have integrity with me. I cancel my need for people to have integrity with me. And to start to look at, has there ever been a situation where you've been out of integrity and not followed through with your word? And that oftentimes is what contributes to the unconscious energy around that type of situation.
Yeah.
Are you breathing?
Yeah, I was looking at my notes too because there was another aspect, but I guess I was looking at where I do that. I didn't write anything down about that. Looks like.
So I'd suggest you make a note of it now while it's in conscious awareness, because that's the kind of thing, and the reason why we suggest people do worksheets in writing is because that's the kind of thing that tends to just kind of slide away. The mind says, no, we don't deal with that. We're not going to look at that. And so we tend to get stuck with it and in it and recreate it. So I definitely make notes on that one, and that sounds like some more awesome worksheet topic.
So, what was that you said, the question that you asked me when I went away and didn't get it? It was, how have I done that myself in my life to others?
Right. How have I been out of integrity? Where have I been out of integrity?
Okay.
And to start doing some forgiveness work around that. And then go back and look at, when was your power person out of integrity? Some worksheets around your power person being out of integrity.
Okay. All right, I'll start the work on this. And I guess that's it, because the rest of my notes were all about, them and what their goals were against me and how they were justifying themselves to just take advantage of me, an innocent victim. So I get to do a lot of work this coming up, I'm sure. I can't wait, though.
Awesome.
I want to.
That's right on track. And have you ever taken advantage of someone and made a victim out of them, or at least cooperated with them making victims of themselves?
Oh, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Because, of course, we know that there are no victims, there are only volunteers. And how do you volunteer? You just engage in the mind energy of victimhood, and you just set up a field that says, hey, is there anybody in the neighborhood that knows how to victimize me like this? And guess who's coming to dinner? The law of the universe is the law of resonance. I just set up a frequency, a vibration, a literal, measurable energy that's going to pull somebody in to do it to me. Now, when I can take responsibility and collapse that field, guess what? They change.
Mhm. Yeah, and then of course I'm going, then will I get paid back? So I'll do it for that reason. But no, that's not the proper reason. So
that's called the imperfect. That's the imperfect act of contrition. I'll do this so that I get something. As opposed to, am I willing to develop the skill of doing this simply because it's an offense to the universe? It's out of integrity. Not so that I get a different result. Now, if you go back, and they had a concept in the ancient church, and there was what they called the perfect act of contrition and the imperfect. And, the scenario is, cancel the thought, someone gets hit by a truck, they're laying there with their dying breath, and there are two ways that they can be saved from, at the last minute. One of them is, am I in connectedness with love and wanting to let go of this rage, guilt, fear, grief, pain, simply because it takes me out of my relationship with the Creator, which, by the way, is the original definition of hell. Or there was a second way that would kind of squeak you through the gate, and that is, I want to get rid of this because I'm terrified I might go to hell. So that was the perfect and imperfect. And to me, it's always about reaching to the next level. So I'm always willing to go for doing this for the right reason rather than the wrong reason. Because when I do something for the wrong reason, that is a reason that's off the mark, a reason that's not right, then I tend to create more turmoil in my life. So so you keep doing that work of forgiving, of letting go. And if you're doing it, if a part of your mind is still in the old mindset, I'm doing this because of my terror or I want a different result, that's okay. Just notice, okay, there's still more work to do to get to the point where I can do this without propitiation, to do the right thing for the right reason. T.S. Eliot had a poem that said, "'Tis the highest treason to do the right thing for the wrong reason." So when I'm doing the right thing, I'm going to open a space of love here because I want them to give me my money back. I'm doing the right thing for an incorrect reason. And do it anyway, and just recognize that your carbon-based memory has an old set of beliefs that still hold that, and so I'm going to just kind of, pat my carbon-based memory on the butt and bring it along. We're going to heal that one. We're going to heal that one until I get to the point where I do it purely for the reason that if I hold this hostility or fear, I'm cut off from my relationship with love. And I want to be restored to that relationship. That's the perfect space to do it from. And you don't have to be in this perfect space to do it anyway. You just recognize, and oftentimes one of the con games of the carbon-based memory system, the non-being mind, will be to lock you into, see, you're doing this for the wrong reason again. See, you see, you're not perfect. See, you're still greedy. You're still. It's like, yeah, I know all of that, and I'm here processing that out to get to the point where I'm doing it perfectly for the perfect reason. That is because I choose to live a human life and be the active presence of love in the world for anybody and everybody.
Wow, it's so hard because I want
That's
that accountability. I want the accountability, and I don't want to forgive the debt.
Wait a minute. I didn't say you can't hold somebody accountable, but here's my offering. When you try to hold somebody accountable out of a fear-based mind, you will create somebody who will do more offense. When you heal yourself and you hold somebody accountable out of a healed mind, you have the genius, you have the intelligence to know exactly what to say to bring about the result. Yeshua says, go back and read that passage, when they take you before the judge, be not concerned, for the words will be put in your mouth. They'll be put in your mouth if you choose to connect with the only functioning mind in the universe, which is the mind of the Creator, the mind of love. So doing your work and healing your mind around these issues doesn't mean you don't hold somebody accountable. It might mean that once you complete that piece of work, you say, and you know what? It's appropriate for me to go to the lawyer and set up a lawsuit and get this taken care of. But I do it out of a connected space of love and integrity rather than out of my greed, my guilt, my fear, my lack, my poverty. If I'm doing it out of poverty, then I'm going to tend to compromise my ability to function fully to bring about that result. So when I heal my poverty, because I take responsibility for, here I am, a victim again, I did this to myself, doesn't mean I'm responsible for that other person's behavior. That's oftentimes a bastardization of this work. People will try to turn it around. Well, you made me do this. This is all your fault, see? So therefore you do the work. It's like, excuse me, no, misinterpretation. I'm not responsible for the behavior you did. Is there a part of me that needed to be victimized and pulled in someone who was willing? Yes. So I'm going to be responsible for the fact that you're doing this in my face, and I'm going to clean up my face. And I'm going to hold you accountable because you're responsible for the behavior you did. I'm not responsible for that. Does that bring forward an idea of the difference?
Yeah. I'm barely staying conscious through this, so I know it's big for me. So I will re-listen.
Yeah.
I will re-listen.
Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. Breathe and let the energy move.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. We're
Really
on the
big.
team, and we'll see you next Thursday, is it, I think?
Sunday.
Next Sunday. Not many days away. All right. Well, we hold you in a blessing.
All right.
Look forward to seeing you. You're going to get some great work done. You are so ready. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. So, Jeanie, we're down to a few minutes, and about 7 minutes, I guess. And do we have any other callers or anything happening in the chat room? Or?
No, there are no other callers, and the chat room's pretty quiet right now. So 646-200-4169. Press 1. It puts you in queue to talk to us. We are down to 5 minutes. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, let's see if Dr. Tim has anything else to share with us on the conversations we've been having.
Well, the thing that struck me most was right here at the end, where Julie she's demonstrating having reached a new level of awareness. And that new level of awareness is that she can actually start to tap into when she's going unconscious.
Yes.
And it's so important. It isn't the great big enlightenment aha that most of us think we need to have, but it is such an important piece of the process to be able to stay aware enough of our breathing and our ability to track a conversation that we can actually recognize when we start to tune out that's not a random event. You know, if my thoughts all of a sudden go to pizza in the middle of one of your lectures, it's not because I'm really hungry. And
right.
So, and the ability to tune into that is so essential to be able to identify, okay, what just happened that triggered my defense mechanism of going unconscious? And then do the psychological autopsy of the last few minutes to go back in and look at, okay, what got triggered, what was said, what's my reaction to it? And it's so important, and as I'm pretty sure it's what sparked you to say she's going to get some real good work done at this intensive, because she's
absolutely
catching herself fading out. And then when she said, I'll go back and re-listen to this, she's demonstrating that willingness that's essential. You keep referring to it as the cosmic grease. It's essential for us to be able to learn. One of the points that came up in the talk yesterday that I gave at Unity was how Guy Finley talks about resistance, and resistance being the lesson stealer. And so the other side of resistance is willingness.
Yes.
And if I'm going to resist what just got triggered in me, or I'm going to resist your message, or I'm going to resist doing the worksheets, I am stopping the process of learning. I'm keeping myself where I've always been. If I go someplace, or if I approach a book or a lecture, and I know what I know, I'm going to leave knowing what I knew. I'm not going to have any learning. There's not going to be any impact on me because I'm in resistance and I'm not in willingness. So when she said I'm going to go back and re-listen to this again to try and let it sink in, that makes my heart sing. That's just fabulous.
I'm in 100% agreement with you. And, you bring up one of the things we ask people to do in the beginning of our intensives is we ask that everyone stay in the room for the whole workshop and that they don't leave the room in any way, shape, or form, either by cross-talking, speaking to someone else, or getting up to leave the room, but they stay, because what I've noticed over the years, and it becomes hilarious in the intensives, because there's somebody who's been talking about a particular issue, and literally someone else in the group will begin to address and open the space for the healing of that issue, and at that moment, this person is out of there. I mean, we've seen it over and over. Like, I'm out of here. That's what I want to deal with most, and I am not going to even look or listen. I'm leaving and either going unconscious or physically leaving the room. We actually were out in it was when we were out seeing Julie in Washington State, and there was a woman at a workshop we did in Medford at the Unity Center there, and she was sitting right beside Jeanie, and she asked a question. And as soon as she asked the question, she stood up and started to leave the room. And Jeanie just looked at her and said, "Where are you going? Michael just started to answer your question, and you're leaving." And she just kind of was like sort of stunned, and sat back down again. But literally was getting her question answered and got up to leave the room. So there is resistance, and in the ancient Aramaic, that word resistor is the word that reflects the definition of Satan. Satan is not a capital S word. It is a lowercase word. It's the resistor, one who misleads. And when our mind misleads us into thinking somebody else is the problem, then we've got work to do. And we're here to support you doing your work so that you can create the best year yet of your eternal life. We hold you in the blessing. Bring a strange to the show tomorrow. come join us at Heartland for an intensive. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife, Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.